gets hit to right center, I've got a really good chance to score. Those are the little things that just make base running a little bit easier.
3-2 to Josh Young. This one lifted in the air to deep left field, and that one is a long gone. Josh Young with an absolute bomb.
Welcome to the Texas Baseball Report with your host, Rip Griffin.
You can visit one of those party areas with a swing. The ball to straightaway center field. Kiermaier will watch it. Peek of the flight deck. Air Jordan just landed in the flight deck. A bomb to straightaway center.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Texas Baseball Report. I'm your host, Rip Griffin. You can follow me on Twitter at RipGriffin3, or X, I should say. You can follow this show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Texas Baseball Report. We have reached that time of the year. The Christmas holidays have come and gone. We are approaching the new year. With that, we start with our annual State of Texas Baseball Address, MLB edition, where we go back and recap everything that happened this season between the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. Before I get into all of that, I just want to say, hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. I wish everybody will have a safe and happy New Year coming up. 2024 is around us. That means baseball will be here before we know it. And looking at the calendar for all of the upcoming start of the season, just to give you a little excitement, because we've got college baseball starting in 52 days. If you are a fan of high school baseball here in the state of Texas, we have that coming up in probably about 59 days or so. And then, of course, we get into all of our other baseball. We've got spring training starting up for Major League Baseball in 60 days. Opening day is 93 days away. That's as of this recording, which is on December 26th, the day after Christmas. Minor league opening day is at 94 days. And if you're a fan of the TCL, the Texas Collegiate League, that is still 157 days away. But we've got baseball that is shortly around the corner, starting up after the first of the year. Okay, so let's recap what happened this season. Now, it was a season of ups and downs for both the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. Let's start first with the Houston Astros, because they came into the 2023 season as the defending World Series champions. We all know the road that they went on to get to a second World Series. Yes, a second World Series championship. Now, they came in as obviously the heavy favorites within the American League West, but we know that the Texas Rangers were hot on their heels after their offseason, which I'll get into that here in just a second. Now, the Astros entered spring training. They did not make a whole lot of moves going into the 2023 spring training. They did bring in Jose Abreu to fill in the void at first base. When Yuli Gurriel left and elected free agency, we all know that he went to the Miami Marlins. A lot of, not really, I wouldn't say controversy, but a lot of what ifs. Could the Astros have done better to make this lineup a lot better? And we know Justin Verlander elected free agency as well, went to the New York Mets on that massive $43 million year contract for a couple years, $86 million, I think, in total. But the Astros went into the season with a rotation with Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy, Hunter Brown kind of anchored in the rotation. And it was supposed to be a rotation that was supposed to be obviously the top of the Major League Baseball. And then when we look at terms of standings, but the rotation kind of took a hit here and there this season. They struggled. The Astros, we know that they struggled at home, which is very rare for them, because usually they play better at home. But when they went on the road, they were able to be very dominant. Of course, we look at their overall season record at 90-72. Now, that's not, it's a little bit of a regression from last season when they had over 94 wins. But anyways, when we look at the 2023 season, it's not a failure by any means. It was a successful season for the Houston Astros. Now, when we look at the rotation that we get into, say, mid-April, early May, they took a big hit. Obviously, Lance McCullers was not in the rotation this year. Try to get through it through spring training, through different types of rehabs. Obviously, that was not working for him. He needed to elect free surgery and to fix whatever it was that he needed to get taken care of. So we know that he's gone for the season now. So who's going to step up and fill in for him? Luis Garcia was the man that we felt was going to be the guy to kind of take a step forward this season after coming off of a very impressive 2022 season. Didn't pitch much the postseason, but he didn't need to pitch because the rotation was so dominant and so lights out. He gets a injury in the elbow. They're at home against, I don't remember who it was, but it was a home game. It's a Monday game because they're wearing their Space Cowboy or Space City uniforms. And so we come to find out that his injury is season ending with a needing Tommy John surgery. So then here comes JP France, who is doing very well. They're down there at AAA in Sugarland. He kind of gets thrusted into that starting role for the Astros and did very well. He kind of held his own, struggled a little bit here and there, but he was actually, one of those pitchers. Same with Brandon Bielak. Brandon Bielak came in as well, kind of, and both of these two pitchers came in, did spot starts here and there, kind of filled in when they needed to. JP France kind of took the reins from Luis Garcia, for the rest of the season, and it did very well when we look at his overall numbers. But the Astros offensively, they did struggle with Jose Altuve starting the season on the IL, getting hurt, having that broken wrist or finger, I think it was, during the World Baseball Classic. Then Yordan Alvarez goes down with an oblique. So the offense is kind of starting to sputter with injuries. They kind of limped through. They got to the All-Star break, and that's when things kind of started to take place as far as what were the Astros going to do with the trade deadline. So they knew they needed to get more in the rotation. Ryan Presley was doing phenomenal. Poor Rafael Montero, this guy, he just did not seem to have it this year, at least through the first part of the season. I think once we got to the All-Star break, things kind of flipped over for him, and he kind of locked it in. But the Astros, Ryan Presley was the closer that he is, struggled at times as well. He did not. There were some times where he had some blown saves, but very un-Brian Presley-esque, but he managed to get through. When we look at the bullpen, Brian Abreu came through, and he was just dominant all season, I think, in my opinion. But that's just me. But the Astros needed to kind of get another arm in the bullpen. They needed to get another arm in the starting rotation. Question is, who are they going to go after? Now they did go after and trade back for Kendall Graveman. We all know Graveman back from 2021 in that World Series, where he was just absolutely dominant in that postseason. Struggled during the regular season, but once he got to the postseason, we knew that he was actually going to be a very good key piece in that bullpen for us in 21. But then he comes back in 23 and was very open arms this time. He was very happy to be back with the Astros. So the Astros kind of solidified the bullpen, brought in a key piece. Then they needed to go out and get a piece in the rotation. Who were they going to trade for? They knew they had to trade for somebody. That guy, Justin Verlander, right? Justin Verlander comes back to the Astros, where the Astros gave up some very good prospects, two prospects in Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford. I was very high on Drew Gilbert. I was really hoping to see him in the Astros uniform patrolling center field one day. So when we look at the rotation now, we've got Framber Valdez, who, like I said, he struggled pretty much all season, at least in the second half. When we look at all of his the other types of rotation, Christian Javier struggled as well. But with Justin Verlander coming back into the fold now, it makes the rotation much stronger. Like I mentioned, they gave up Gilbert, but they needed to get someone in that rotation familiar with. Now, there's a lot of going back and forth all season. What about catcher? Who are we going to bring in catcher? Yainer Diaz was the guy that we all wanted to be in the lineup every day because of his production. It seemed like every time he was up at the plate, he was producing. But Martin Maldonado was the guy that the Astros wanted to go with. For what reason? I don't know why. Dusty Baker he loved Maldonado, and we all get it. Maldi was a guy that would call a game. He was a part of no hitters. He was a part of immaculate innings for the Astros. But we weren't seeing it offensively. We weren't seeing that offensive production, that bottom of the lineup that we needed to get things going. Same with Jeremy Pena. Jeremy Pena hadn't hit a home run since July when he got to October. Why? I don't know. Was he not seeing the ball well? Did he not have? Was he injured? What ifs? All these what ifs, we don't know. But anyways, the Astros get into October, and it's like a light switch, right? Light switch turns on, and hey, here we go. Go through the Minnesota Twins in 4 games. Okay. Then we get to the ALCS, and it's a Lone Star Series showdown between the Texas Rangers. Now, we all knew, and I'm going to get to the Rangers here in just a second. We all knew the Rangers were good. Okay. They spent pretty much the entire season in first place in the AL West. The Astros come in on the last day of the season, right, and take the AL West from the Rangers to get that 2nd seed instead of the 5th seed, which they probably were deserving. And they probably should have taken that 5th seed and lost that last game of the season, because when we look at their road record versus their home record, they would have started on the road. Okay. They would have gone to Tampa. Okay. Then they would have gone to Baltimore. And then they probably would have faced Texas Rangers still in the ALCS if the script was flipped. But that was not the case. The Astros come into the postseason as the number 2 seed versus the number 5 that the Texas Rangers got. So it was all Texas ALCS, right? That's what we wanted. We wanted the 2 best teams in the American League, which happened to be the Rangers and the Astros, battling out for another shot at a World Series. Will the Astros repeat and go back to the World Series for a chance to defend their title, or will the Rangers come in and be the beat up on Big Brother and finally return to the World Series for the first time since 2011? Well, we got the series that we wanted. We got the drama. We got the excitement. We got the blood grinding. Let's go 7 games. Let's see who can duke it out the most. We got that. Unfortunately, the Astros weren't able to fulfill that quest to repeat as defending champions and defend their title in the World Series against the Diamondbacks. But to go 7 games, to go to the ALCS for the 7th consecutive year, that's still an accomplishment for the Astros, I think, in my opinion, anyways. But the Texas Rangers would go on to the World Series. So that is the Astros in a nutshell, right? That's kind of the skim version. I could sit here and throw a bunch of stats and numbers and all that good stuff. But I mean, the Astros came into 2023 looking as the defending World Series champions. Okay, they did not get to that point, but you know what? That goes to show how hard it is for teams to go and repeat and become 2-time World Series champions, right? We've all heard it. The Yankees are the last team to repeat. Okay. But when we jump into the 2024 season, the Texas Rangers are going to be that team that's going to have to try to they need to repeat, obviously. They have a very good shot to do so. Will they be the first team to do it since the Yankees? We don't know yet. That's to be determined. But when we look at the Texas Rangers going into the 2023 season, they needed to bolster their rotation. Okay, they did that they bolstered their lineup a couple seasons ago. We all know the $500 million offseason when they brought in Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, John Gray, Andrew Heaney, but they needed more offense, right? The offense was there. They needed more pitching. That's what they needed. So this offseason going into 2023, what do? They go out and get Jacob deGrom, give him a fully guaranteed contract, $185 million, whatever, fully guaranteed. That was a bold move considering how injury prone Jacob deGrom is. Then they go out and get Nathan Eovaldi. Okay, Nathan Eovaldi he's got a postseason record. He's been very successful in the postseason, as we saw with the Red Sox back in 2018. Okay, so he's got postseason experience. That's what they wanted. They wanted somebody, a veteran presence within that rotation. So you bring in Jacob deGrom, then you bring in Nathan Eovaldi, right? You've already got Martin Perez that's there in the rotation. You've got Dane Dunning. So what more than that Rangers need to do? Okay, the bullpen, right? The bullpen was going to be the question going into 2023. With the rotation the way they had, the offense that they got, they knew that they were going to be able to compete in the AL West. And they did. From the moment the season started, the Rangers were the team to beat in the AL West. And the Astros just continued. They were second best to the Rangers all year. Now, we saw lots of excitement during the Lone Star Series between the Astros and Rangers. I really think the Rangers fed off of that because they were a young, scrappy team They brought in a veteran manager, Bruce Bochy, which I think was a great pickup from CY, Chris Young, as I talked to CJ Nikowski earlier this year on the Rangers. So the Rangers did things, even though they spent money, but they needed to spend the money. They had the money to spend because they knew that they were in a window that they were going to compete for an AL West division title and possibly more. Okay, so we get into the season. The Rangers are the team to beat in the AL West. They are in first place for primarily the whole season, like 154 games or whatever, compared to the Astros, like it was 26 games. So the Rangers came in and they were in first place going into the last game of the season. Now let's backtrack a little bit because we need to talk about the trade deadline. Okay, with Jacob DeGrom going down with a arm injury, which we come to find out it's Tommy John. So we won't see him in 2024. Maybe till All-Star break, right? Which is in Arlington, by the way. So that's going to be a great thing for Rangers fans. But anyways, the Rangers needed to go in. They needed to bolster the bullpen. The bullpen was not aside from Jose Leclerc. The Rangers needed somebody that they can come in and hopefully kind of take some of that balance and kind of the ball in some of those key high stress situations. Josh Sborz came in, which was he was awesome. Dane Dunning did a little bit of both, spot start and would come in out of the bullpen as well. But they went out and traded for Aroldis Chapman. Now Aroldis Chapman, we all know from his days with the Yankees, he was having a fairly decent season with the Royals, and that's why the Rangers went out and got him. Yeah, they traded up and got rid of Cole Ragans. That's right, Reagans. So they traded Cole Ragans, which I thought he was going to be a great person within the Rangers lineup going. But with the Royals, he'll fit in just nicely. But they traded for Aroldis Chapman, but then they needed to make a splash. They needed to bring somebody with some more veteran presence. So they went out and traded for Max Scherzer from the Mets. Scherzer was able to drop his no trade clause. So the Rangers were able to pick him up and boom, put him in the lineup, in the rotation. So now you've got a pretty solid rotation with you've got Nathan Eovaldi, you've got Max Scherzer, you've got Dane Dunning. I mean, that's a 1-2-3 punch right there for the Rangers. And so now they go into August, September, looking to continue to gain that lead, strengthen that lead, increase that lead. There we go. I got up against the Astros. And of course, we get to the last game of the season against the Mariners, and they lose. They lose to the Mariners 1-0. They go from being the second seed in the AL to the fifth seed. They have to go from Seattle, fly all the way across country to play the Tampa Bay Rays on 2 days rest, basically. And it was like a light switch. Again, we talked about that light switch with the Astros, but that light switch with the Rangers, they come in, they sweep the Rays, right? Then they go from Tampa Bay, they fly to Baltimore, right? Take on the Orioles, the number one team in the AL East, right? The AL East division winners over the Yankees, over the Blue Jays. They sweep them. I mean, that's bold. I mean, they come in and just manhandle the Orioles, and the Orioles were a great team. They really were a great team, but the Rangers were just better. And so that brings us back to our Lone Star Series showdown between the Astros and Rangers. Okay, who's going to take Texas? Who's going to represent Texas, the state of Texas, in the World Series? The Astros or Rangers? They went 7 games, like I repeated, like I told you with the Astros. Rangers ended up going and taking that 7th grade, and they won 9 games in a row on the road. 9 games in a row. That's awesome for them to go and do. And then, which they secured their place for the World Series the first time since 2011. And then they're facing the Arizona Diamondbacks team. Now, when I look at this World Series, had the Astros had gone and won, they easily probably could have swept the Diamondbacks, I think, and would have repeated. But of course, that didn't happen. So when we look at this World Series, game one between the Diamondbacks and Rangers there in Arlington, it looked like the Diamondbacks were going to take game one. And then Corey Seager comes up in the bottom ninth, boom, pop, smashes that 2-run homer. The Rangers take game one. Okay, against Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen was an all-star pitcher. I saw him pitch in Seattle. But that's okay. And Rangers take game one. All right, so game two comes up. Diamondbacks are able to take game two. Which is, they had Merle Kelly on the round. Merle Kelly had been awesome throughout this whole postseason. Not all season, really, too. So it makes sense for them to take game two, excuse me. But we get to game three there. So a 3-game series switches to Arizona. You would think that the home team would have the advantage, right? But we saw that even in the ALCS, where the home team lost every game. Astros went up 0-2 in Houston. They go back into Arlington, take 3 games, right? They drop the final 2 at home, right? Brings you Astros fans. That'll bring you, some nightmares from 2019. But anyways, so the series is tied 1-1. We had to Arizona, and we got a pretty good series going into game 3 between the Astros. Sorry, between the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. But the Rangers were able to take game 3, right? They took game 4. So here they are. They're looking to Diamondbacks are looking to win and send the series back to Arlington, or the Rangers are looking to capitalize and win on the road there in Arizona. And that was the case. Diamondbacks fought hard, but the Rangers were just better. The Rangers had the pitching, right? And that's even when Adolis Garcia and both Adolis Garcia and Max Scherzer are having to be replaced on the World Series roster because of injuries. We can't forget about that. Okay. Evan Carter. Okay. We got to look at Evan Carter. Evan Carter, what he did in the 20-some-odd games that he was in the big leagues plus the postseason as a 21-year-old was truly phenomenal. You cannot go into a postseason conversation and talk about the Rangers without bringing up Evan Carter. That's just what that guy does. He's phenomenal. But Rangers go on to win the World Series in 5 games. 4-1. Rangers finally get over the hurdle that has been nagging them for 12 years, since 2011. They finally are able to be called World Series champions for the first time in franchise history, which is great because they deserve it, right? To spend that many days in first place in the AL West, to drop it, but then to go pretty much undefeated. Well, yeah, not pretty much. They were undefeated. I think they went 12-0 on the road. It is phenomenal for the Rangers. And they deserve it, right? They deserve to win the World Series. They deserve to go into the 2024 season as the defending World Series champions. Now, what do they need to do? Next is repeat. Can they do it? They can. Has it been done before? Not since 2000. Not since the Yankees did it. They're a 3-peat. But Rangers have the capability to repeat as World Series champions. If there's any team that can go back to back, it's the Rangers. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun 2024 season. The ALCS between the Astros and Rangers really sparked a lot of drama that will bring forward into 2024 as we hit this new year coming up. It's going to be fun to watch. Like I mentioned, we've got baseball coming up in just a few months, just a few weeks, really, right? 50 some odd days before we get some college baseball. So that is your State of Texas baseball address. Now, what's on tap for 2024? All right. Here. Okay. Let's see what the Longhorns are doing this year. We'll see what the Aggies are doing this year. Of course, we'll be on tap for whatever the Rangers and Astros are doing. Even dive into a little bit of minor league baseball, Space Cowboys, Round Rock Express. Lots of baseball coming up. It is the State of Texas Baseball Report. I am your host, Rip Griffin. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope everybody has a happy new year, and we'll see you all in 2024. Take care, guys.